All right, so we have our text here. I'm Paulo, software developer and teacher. Again, just change this to your own name and your own titles and so forth, okay? Very good. So this doesn't look anything close to this. That's fine. One of the things we need to do is to make this larger. So we need to change the text to be a little bit larger. We should know how to do this now, but I'm going to do it in, say, style, text, style as such, and say font size. I want this to be about 44, I think 0.5. Maybe that would be great. And I'm also going to change the color, and it's going to be colors that blue gray like this. Let's go ahead and take a look, make sure we're not too far out. Very good, it's looking good. But now we have a problem. Notice everything is actually to the left and it's not necessarily in the middle of the picture, right? That's what we want to do. There's a few things we can do. Number one is we can wrap this whole thing into an alignment or align widget. Okay, so we can then have more control as to where this is supposed to be. So we can say we want this to be the bottom, right, top, or left, or so forth. Okay, so very simply, I can click on text and then command period, and then I'm going to wrap this inside of a new widget called align, like this. Okay, hit enter, and let's save that. Of course, it formats everything for us. And what I want to do is to pass the alignment property. Oops, not in there. It has to be outside of a child, of course. Say alignment. I'm going to use alignment dot. I want this to be top center like this. So save this. See, it goes. Nothing really changed so far, but we'll get there. One of the things we want also to do is to make sure that we have this button here. Now, if that's the case, then the button is at the bottom of this text. That means then we need what? A row or a column. If you said a column, you're correct, because columns allow us to put things on top of each other. Not on top, but one after one another. So this is going to be at the bottom. Okay, this is a row. So we can do that. That means then I can come here, and inside of this text here, I'm going to actually wrap this inside of another widget, which is a column like that, which means then I have to change this to child to children. Again, you can just click on that and say command period, and it's going to allow us to convert to children. Hit enter, and voila. So let's save this. Nothing really will change much, but we'll get there. Okay, so now that we have that, we need to figure something out. Well, we still have this issue here, right? So we want to make sure that this is a little bit to the right or kind of in the middle. What we can do here, remember, we're inside of what? We're inside of a row. The parent widget is the row here. That's what we're returning. So in a row here, we can actually pass a few other properties, for one of which is the main axis alignment. Okay. The other thing you can do, if you hover over any of these properties, this happens. So we have this little pop-up that tells us exactly what these properties do once we set them. This one says the main axis alignment creates a horizontal array of children. So the main axis alignment, or the main axis cross alignment and so forth, arguments must not be null and gives us information, right? And so forth. So you can always read more about the widgets that you are going to be using if you want to learn more about them. Okay. So in this case here, we can say that the main axis alignment, I want what? I want this to be space in between. That means anything that is inside of this row, it's going to be separated all apart. So if I can save this, it's not going to do much in terms of visually, but you will see what will happen later time. Because remember, this is the main row, which we're going to have another something else happening there. Okay. Now, the next thing we're going to do is still there. We're going to say that we want our cross axis alignment to be stretched. Okay. So to stretch out anything that is inside of this row. Again, you won't see much happening there. Okay. It's still the same. We're getting there. All right. Let's keep going here. The next thing we want to do is we want to add this button here. Well, inside of this column here, right, and where we finish, we're going to add that button. So I'm going to say button. I think we call this, what was the name of the button? Let's say command P, contact button. That's the name. All right, so I can say contact button as such. All right, so we need to pass a few things on this contact button. First of all, it's going to be button text, right? It's going to be what? This is going to be, I think we changed drop me a line. Okay, and then icon. It's going to be icon. Put icons dot mail, I think, or email. Mail outline. Very good. And then we're going to have on pressed. It's going to just be a function that we're going to do something about later. So save this, and there we go. We have that button. Very good. Looking really good. It's pretty much just like that. We can work on that. Remember, the size here are a little bit different because I have made this a little bit bigger so that you can see, because it's, right? You can see here, if I say Control Command plus, it's 150 zoom, right? So if you make it 100%, you will see that it's actually small, but I want you to see everything, so I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. All right, so things are working good. And again, I have to remind you how wonderful this is, because all we had to do, because we extracted this contact button earlier when we were refactoring our code, now we can just call the contact button and pass a few parameters, and voila, we have a new button. Very cool, very great. Now, again, we're still with the same problem here, that we want to make sure that this text here, it's at least somewhere around here, at least some sort of padding, or move it around. Well, there's a few things we can do. First of all, in our contact here, I'm going to wrap this around another alignment or align widget. So I'm going to say align this, hit enter, and say alignment. It's going to be alignment. And I want this to be center left as well. Let's save this. Very good. So now both of these are aligned the same, because this is center left, and for our text I said top center, but at least you can see they are nicely aligned. Okay, now let's see if we can fix this issue here that we have. This text, it's just too much to the left. Why is that, you think? So looking at our code here, notice that we have this first container, which in this case here we say the flex is 1, and then the other one at the bottom, in this case we say flex 2. So this is taking too much space, which means it's pushing everything to the left. Okay, so to let Flutter to decide, really, in the second one, I'm going to get rid of this. So I'm not going to add the actual flex. I'm just say, you know what? I know just I want the first one to have a certain color. I know to say that you decide, Flutter, give me whatever you find fit. In this case, I just want the first expanded here to be 1, and the next one could be flexible, in this case, whatever you give to me. Okay, if now we save this, notice something's going to happen. You can see that the text now is where it's supposed to be. But so we have this issue here which says the bottom overflowed by 151 pixels. Let's go and see if we can open our console there. It's going to say here the column overflowing, so it gives us something that may have caused that. So if you see it says main screen .65, click there, you can see that is the problem, right? Because it looks like this column here is causing some issues because the system doesn't know exactly how much to allow the image or all the contents inside of this column to contain the widgets. So how do we fix this? What happens here is that although we have this expanded enclosed, and then we have this container, and then inside we have a column, which we got a stack, what's happening here is that because we have this image that is pretty big, and it's just having trouble to fit all of that image inside of this main stack here, which is inside of a column. So one of the things you can do is click on this stack and say command, and then wrap that inside of another expanded, right? To say that, okay, just take as much space as you need, save like that. And all of a sudden we should see that the problem is gone, okay, which is good. So no more issues here. We don't have these overflowed issues anymore. So this is what we have. Let me get rid of that and save again so you can see that that problem is gone, okay? But another issue we have now is that all of this information, the text and this drop me a line button, they all went up. The reason why is because, remember, we are inside of a column and we added another expanded, and then we have another column inside, right? Which in this case here, this column here has the text this text as its children, as its child, as well as this icon or contact button, this one as its child. So what we can do, because we want to move all of this to be at least somewhere in the middle of this entire column or stack, in this case it's expanded, right? So what we can do, we can go inside of this immediate column that is hosting the text and the contact button, and we can say main axis alignment, right? We want up and down. I'm going to say main axis alignment. I want this to be center like this. If you save, we should solve the problem. And there we go. So now it looks way, way better. It's almost like what we have here. Okay. So there we have it. We are making real good progress. We are going to continue in the next video, align things around to make sure that this drop mail line is at least aligned with the text that we have at the top there. And then we're going to start working on our project list to the right.